You believe the deepest wound a woman can inflict on a man is outright rejection, a sharp, clean break that leaves no ambiguity. But that is a merciful blade compared to the slower torment. Her gradual, almost absent-minded absorption of your energy while you fade into a specter within your own existence. It is the phantom ache of a bond that was never truly forged, the cavernous silence where closeness should resonate, yet only echoes back emptiness devoid of reverence. You might taste fragments of her warmth, drown in the fleeting glow of her focus, even lie entangled in her sheets, and still confront an unnameable frost that seeps into your marrow. For there lies an abyss, wide and shadowed, separating the transient hunger of desire from the enduring fortress of true regard, between serving as momentary amusement and standing as a presence of unyielding depth. This is not the thunder of betrayal or the spectacle of abandonment. This is erosion by invisible tides, a quiet death through countless small capitulations. You did not forfeit her esteem through excessive generosity, constant presence, or raw authenticity. You lost it in the accumulation of unspoken concessions, those subtle postures of self-doubt that radiate from you in the pauses between conversations, like faint cracks in stone that widen over time. These are not cataclysmic lapses in integrity. They are the faint quivers of a man uncertain of his footing on the earth he claims. The brief delay before voicing an unfiltered conviction, the strained chuckle that dilutes a resolute stance, the hurried elaboration where stillness would have commanded authority, the instinctive rush to mend a tension that belongs to another. Women do not arrive at this truth through deliberate reasoning. It registers in them as an ancient instinct, a primal awareness that precedes thought, detecting the shift before you even sense the ground tilting beneath you. They perceive the man who responds rather than initiates, the one who curates his image instead of inhabiting his essence. And in that perception, a silent judgment forms, not in the chambers of intellect, but in the deeper recesses of intuition. You become expendable, a tolerable interlude perhaps, but never indispensable. Someone to savor in passing, yet never a force that demands reckoning. This is not a manual of clever maneuvers or seductive tactics. This is a dissection of the unseen forces that dismantle masculine authority. We are examining 5 inward postures that decide whether a woman views you as a fleeting body circling her world or as the immovable core around which her own path realigns. This is the hidden framework of becoming a man whose presence cannot be dismissed. If these words strike you like a relentless mirror reflecting truths you have long evaded, then this space is yours. Stay with it. This is a forge for men weary of deciphering riddles from afar, ready instead to carve their own paths through the wilderness. Leave a trace below. Name the place where these words find you. It anchors us in the reality that this is no detached philosophy, but a living dialogue unfolding across cities, nights, and unspoken struggles. Let us descend into the depths. First, the silent architect of your own diminishment, the craving for approval. The error lies in mistaking her favor for the bedrock of your security. The truth is that this craving itself is the venom that corrodes the vessel of reverence. Few men openly confess the hunger. I must be accepted by her. They cloak it in elevated virtues, calling it empathy, attentiveness, chivalry, or adaptability. They weave a dignified tale around a brittle foundation. Yet beneath the polished veneer pulses an older fear. Her approval confirms my worth. Her displeasure threatens my existence. This fear does not seize control with brute force. It exerts a constant, insidious tension. You sense it when you temper a bold assertion at the first shadow of resistance in her gaze. It surfaces in the forced mirth that masks your offense at her words. It reveals itself in the swift agreement that outruns your own comprehension, all to safeguard an illusion of peace. It lingers in your endurance of minor violations, offhand dismissals, habitual tardiness, casually broken pledges. because challenging them seems more perilous than swallowing the slight. This is a daily ritual of self-effacement, performed so subtly that it escapes your own notice. You sharpen your contours into softness, mute your convictions into whispers, silence your instincts into compliance, all to sustain the fragile mirage of being welcomed. From the outside, it appears benign, even admirable. That is its lethal subtlety. You can sustain this gradual vanishing for seasons, even years, convincing yourself you are merely embodying maturity. Yet while you remain oblivious, she registers everything on a visceral level. She does not catalog evidence like a scholar. She inhabits the atmosphere like a creature attuned to seismic shifts. What she detects is a man perpetually leaning, his equilibrium borrowed from her reflection rather than forged within. She feels the endless micro-adjustments, the reflexive calibration to her emotional currents. Where there is no fixed axis, there can be no true direction. And without direction, reverence slips away unnoticed, like breath on cold glass. The deeper wound is this. Seeking approval is not generosity, it is abdication. It is the gradual barter of your autonomy for the counterfeit coin of validation. Each time you prioritize concord over candor, you do not demonstrate compassion. You reveal your inner ledger, where your own integrity ranks below her transient comfort. To her, this does not read as loyalty. It registers as fragility, like grasping a branch that bends too easily in the wind. Women do not withdraw esteem from flawed men. They withdraw it from men who falter in their own conviction when stakes rise. From men whose sense of self liquefies at the mere threat of disconnection. The cruel irony cuts deepest here. The more fervently you pursue her sanction, the more hollow any sanction she offers becomes. Validation carries gravity only when granted by one who stands complete without it. The transformation is not from gentleness to cruelty. That is a juvenile distortion. It is from reactivity to rootedness. The approval seeker lives in perpetual response, scanning for cues like a sailor reading distant clouds. His actions are echoes. The rooted man draws from an inner well. This is not emotional barrenness or calculated distance. Those are merely fear in sterner garb. True rootedness is quieter, more pervasive, like the deep hum beneath a mountain. He does not forsake himself to still troubled waters. He permits discord to occupy space without lunging to extinguish it. He endures tension without mistaking it for apocalypse. He does not race to alleviate her unease merely to restore his own. His worth is not ransom to her disposition. He speaks without polishing each phrase for palatability. He refuses without appending volumes of justification. He disagrees without defensiveness, for his view is declaration, not supplication. He abides misunderstanding without unraveling, for his identity is not mortgaged to perfect interpretation. And when required, he departs a connection that demands his erasure, not with theatrics, but with the serene finality of a man who has already chosen himself. This rootedness exerts its own inexorable force. It feels like refuge, not because he vows to mend every fracture, but because he reveals a structure that does not readily fracture. Here is the alchemy. The less you pursue likability, the more your authentic regard becomes rare currency, because endorsement from a self-contained man feels earned through presence, not extorted through performance. Women do not revere flawlessness. They revere unshakable substance. Cease striving to be pleasing. Strive to be immovable. From that bedrock, reverence naturally rises. Second, the surrender of your own tempo, pursuing immediate resolution. The delusion is that haste demonstrates devotion. The truth is that urgency exposes vulnerability. Men often misread their own acceleration as proof of profound attachment. They justify it as intensity, as fear of loss. They mistake velocity for depth. Yet haste is never born of assurance. It is the offspring of doubt. When a man floods her phone with messages, presses for premature definitions, demands constant validation, or unloads his heart at the first hint of retreat, he broadcasts an unspoken plea. My wholeness hinges on your unwavering enthusiasm. Women detect this frequency with primal clarity. Observe the recurring tragedy. Connection sparks, flows, feels vital. Then comes the inevitable ebb, a delayed response, a quieter day, a subtle cooling. The uncertain man registers this not as natural cadence, but as existential threat. Alarm sounds. He inquires after her well-being. He dispatches lengthy clarifications of intent. He offers escalated commitment as currency for restored warmth. He accelerates precisely when the rhythm has decelerated. The unspoken message thunders, "My inner peace is tethered to your signals." That acceleration is the exact fracture point where reverence begins to dissolve. Urgency does not convey passion. It conveys precariousness. It reveals that your anchor is not internal but lodged in her conduct. To her, this is not ardor. It is obligation. She begins to carry the unseen weight of stabilizing your equilibrium. And when a woman becomes custodian of a man's emotional steadiness, desire withers. Reverence cannot survive in the atmosphere of clinging. The unspoken question that surfaces in ambiguity is ancient. When clarity fades, does this man remain upright, or does he crumble? Your response to uncertainty is your most eloquent revelation. Emotional sovereignty is not domination of her pace, it is command of your own. Mirroring her every fluctuation surrenders the conductor's role to her. Maintaining your rhythm preserves authorship. To be crystalline, honoring your tempo is not strategy. It is not calculated scarcity or punitive withdrawal. Those are merely insecurity in disguise. Authentic tempo is internal sovereignty. You remain engaged without unraveling. You register the shift without capsizing. You do not sprint because she strolls. Your investment holds steady, not from apathy, but from self-anchorage. From her deeper vantage, this steadiness is magnetic. Women unconsciously probe for emotional captaincy, not out of malice, but survival instinct. In fog, the question rises, is he a reliable harbor or another tempest I must navigate? The man who neither rushes nor retreats sends an unspoken declaration. I value you, yet I do not forfeit myself to outcomes. He does not demand resolution of his unease. He endures ambiguity without collapse. In that endurance, the axis tilts. When she senses she cannot accelerate you, cannot unsettle your orbit, curiosity replaces control. Intrigue supplants leverage. She begins attuning to your rhythm rather than dictating it. Because when your doubt does not erupt into desperation, your presence solidifies. Solid forms are not pursued. They become the center to which motion gravitates. Third, the barter of your own value, declaring boundaries aloud. The fallacy is that verbalized limits command respect. The truth is that articulated boundaries invite haggling, and haggling is the gateway to contempt. The rational mind clings to a seductive logic. Clear communication of expectations will earn understanding and compliance. It feels adult, responsible. It is ruinous. The instant you voice a standard, you demote it from immutable law to negotiable proposal. You shift from sovereign decree to persuasive appeal. Watch the familiar sorrow unfold. She crosses a threshold, flaky plans, cutting remarks, repeated inconsideration. Instead of silent recalibration, you convene a dialogue. You deploy measured language, express impacts, seek alignment. You believe you exhibit leadership. What she often perceives is supplication disguised as assertiveness. Please adjust so I may keep you. Negotiation inherently diminishes authority. The unforgiving reality: women do not honor boundaries that require advocacy. If a line demands explanation to be upheld, it feels provisional, not absolute. The more you elucidate, the more you implicitly authorize challenge. Spoken standards become preferences open to revision. You are no longer a realm with fixed borders. You are a merchant pitching terms. A man compelled to justify his limits is already defending territory. Embodied standards require no defense. They simply are. They are not imposed upon her. They govern your own engagement. This inversion eludes most men until they drown in words. True standards are not lectures delivered to correct her. They are silent filters applied to your investment. Diminished respect from her yields diminished presence from you. No proclamations, no tribunals, just calm congruence between her conduct and your allocation of self. Energy withdraws without declaration. This quiet enforcement is agonizing for men accustomed to catharsis. There is no release in righteous speech, no validation in being heard, no dramatic closure. You must inhabit the discomfort of misalignment alone, willing to release what you desire without final justification. That solitude is precisely its power. Men prefer speech because it feels like agency. Silence feels like defeat. So they speak. And with each word, they mortgage unspoken authority. From her instinctual lens, silent standards are irrefutable. She ceases listening to proclamations and begins reading patterns. She notes your absence of pursuit when she withdraws. She registers the measured withdrawal of investment when alignment falters. This awakens profound intrigue. She is no longer debating rules. She is encountering a man whose worth is non-negotiable. Women do not conform to announced expectations. They align, or depart, according to the expectations you embody without explanation. When standards live in action, reverence is not solicited. It is inevitable. Fourth, the discharge of inner turbulence, reactivity, intention. The illusion is that intense emotional display proves depth. The truth is that composure under strain proves strength, and strength is reverence's foundation. Women prize emotional constancy above physical prowess, charm, or spectacle. Pressure is the crucible that strips veneer and exposes core. It arrives not in grand crises, but in everyday ambushes. Cryptic signals, silences, sudden distance, unresolved friction. Men divide into two archetypes under this solvent. The reactive man senses disturbance and declares emergency. His priority becomes immediate relief from his own agitation. He probes, pleads, over-explains, oscillates between withdrawal and inundation, anything to reclaim equilibrium. The composed man registers the same disturbance yet contains it. He observes without catastrophizing. He responds from center rather than reflex. His demeanor remains even, not from oblivion, but from internal governance. Women do not manufacture pressure for sport. It is reality's friction revealing substance. Reactivity registers as burden. She becomes involuntary guardian of your stability. When she must manage your emotions, reverence erodes. Stability, conversely, declares without words, "This man endures uncertainty intact." That is leadership, containing tension without impulsive release. Universal scene, she withdraws subtly. The reactive man panics, floods communication, seeks reassurance. He adds pressure. The composed man notes the shift, maintains presence without invasion, offers space without retaliation. His steadiness is rare, therefore luminous. It feels like deep water. Safe because it holds. Steadiness is not suppression. It is disciplined mastery. Feel fully. Act deliberately. From her vantage, such a man is terrain, solid, traversable. He creates space rather than consuming it. In that space, desire roots deeply. When a man holds tension without discharging it onto her, she exhales. She approaches freely, unburdened by duty. Composed men are scarce. Scarcity commands reverence. Steadiness proves itself not in calm, but when chaos knocks, and you remain whole. Fifth, the eclipse of your own center, making her your entire horizon. The misbelief is that subsuming your life into hers proves devotion. The truth is that it reveals orbital collapse, and a man without his own gravity is pitied, not chosen. This truth wounds deepest, for it seems to contradict love itself. Yet in the stark mathematics of reverence, it is axiom. When she becomes the fixed star around which your days, purpose, and identity revolve, your own pull vanishes. She feels not cherished, but encumbered. It appears in quiet erosions, forsaken training for shared evenings, faded friendships, abandoned ambitions, softened edges to fit her silhouette. You name it, compromise, integration. In truth, it is self-dismantling. raiding your own fortress to reside permanently in hers. To her, this is not security. It is instability. A man who relinquishes his architecture will eventually demand the relationship bear its weight. No woman desires to be any man's sole source of meaning. It suffocates desire and executes reverence. The anchored man is not detached. He loves fiercely, commits deeply. Yet intimacy enhances his existing world. It does not supplant it. His mission, rhythm, growth persist independent of outcome. When she intuits that your vitality would endure without her, that your discipline, craft, bonds, evolution would continue, she feels invitation, not obligation. She walks beside a man already in motion. Men without center orbit and cling. Men with center are chosen, others orbit them. Prioritizing your life is not withholding, it is ultimate presence. The anchored man tends his body, purpose, resources, mind, brotherhoods. The relationship is cherished chapter, not the entire volume. Women sense this instantly. He does not cling, does not require propping, does not negotiate essence for approval. He lives it and offers entry. That offer carries profound dignity. It grants choice without demand. She evaluates whether your trajectory resonates, unpressured. In that freedom, reverence matures. Anchored men do not advertise worth. They inhabit it. Their solidity within the relationship feels dependable because their world does not precariously depend on it. These 5 postures do not polish your performance. They render you undeniable. Cease shrinking for approval. Cease chasing phantom certainty. Cease negotiating inherent worth. Cease unloading emotional weight. Cease dissolving your gravity. In their place, stand rooted, move deliberately, enforce silently, contain firmly, live centered. If you have known the ache of nearness, turning to indifference, if effort yielded only diminishing returns, if connection slipped despite every plea and adjustment, the deficit was never insufficient care. It was momentary abandonment of your own ground. You left the citadel unattended to pursue a will-o'-the-wisp. Women do not realign because you persuade. They realign when they feel, irresistibly, the presence of a man who owns his terrain, rooted, composed, directed by inner compass. When you occupy your own ground unapologetically, the world ceases endless probing. It adjusts, not because you commanded it, but because authentic strength, quietly embodied, simply is, like stone worn smooth by centuries yet unmoved by storms, like gravity, silent, constant, undeniable.